Angel by Barbara Taylor Bradford. Read by Diana Quick. She stood near one of the huge stone pillars, a little to one side in the shadows, watching the fight. The woman, whose name was Rosie Madigan, was taut with nerves. The warriors battled on. They were fencing to the death. She knew there could only be one winner. Brilliant light, penetrating the windows set high in the castle walls, glanced off their swift and lethal swords. Gavin, the smaller of the two, was slender, supple, and fleet of foot. He drove his opponent back across the stone floor of the vast hall. Suddenly he had the advantage. James, the other knight, taller, broader, more cumbersome of body, was now pinioned in a corner, his back pressed close to the wall, a mixture of fury and fear blanching his face. To the woman it seemed that the fight would be over sooner than she had anticipated. It was perfectly obvious to her that Gavin was about to triumph. Then, much to her amazement, James managed, somehow, to shift his stance just enough to maneuver his bulk into a new position. Unexpectedly, he lunged forward purposefully. He now had the advantage. Gavin, somewhat taken by surprise, was thrown into a defensive position. He moved backwards swiftly, as nimble as a dancer. He parried James's thrusts with immense skill and strength. James went on, lunging after him, brandishing his sword with equal expertise. But he was not quite as light on his feet as Gavin. James had begun to pant excessively, his movements slowing. Gavin was gaining ground once more. He was on the offensive, in superb control, moving in for the kill. James stumbled and went down, his sword clattering across the stone floor, out of reach. In a flash, Gavin was standing over James, the point of his sword resting close to the other knight's throat. "Kill me, then, and be done with it," James cried out at last. "I do not choose to soil my sword with your blood," Gavin intoned coldly. "Begone from these parts. Return on fear of death." Taking several steps backward, he sheathed his sword, walked across the floor and up the wide staircase without a backward glance. Only when he reached the top of the stairs did he briefly look down at James before disappearing into the shadows. There was a moment of total silence. Then the director's voice rang out. "Cut! And print!" "Are you really going to New York at the end of the week?" Gavin Ambrose asked, hovering in the doorway of the bathroom which adjoined his dressing room. Rosie Madigan looked up from her notebook. "Yes. I have a meeting with some Broadway producers about a new musical. I'm going to L.A. from New York to see Gary Marshall. He wants me to do the clothes for his new movie." "Rosie, you're crazy. It's too much. You're killing yourself with work these days. Enough's enough, for God's sake." "I need the extra money for my family." "They're not your family." A look of irritation crossed Gavin's face. "We're your family. Me and Nell and Kevin." Ignoring his impatience, Rosie thought, "And Mikey. He is family too, wherever he is. And Sonny." A faint shadow fell across her heart, and she sighed under her breath, thinking of them. Gavin lowered his eyes and focused on the photograph on the dressing table. There they all were, Rosie and Nell, Gavin, Kevin, Mikey and Sonny, arms looped, shining faces smiling, eyes bright with expectation and hope. "We promised we'd always be there for one another, no matter what, Rosie. We said we were a family," Gavin persisted. "And we are." "Yes, a family, Gavin." The tragedy was that they had all broken their promises to each other. Gavin's famous smile flashed endearingly, lighting up his face. "If you're so..."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?